Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here. A quick preview and prediction for Yunier Dorticos versus Andrew Tabiti. This fight is part of the World Boxing Super Series Season 2 Cruiserweight tournaments. The winner of this fight will then go into the final to fight the winner of Krzysztof Glowacki and Maris Briedis. So a lot on the line here, and I've got to say, I am really looking forward to this fight. I think it's a great fight, and one that could go either way. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Now let's briefly talk about the stats and facts of both fighters. We will start with Yunier Dorticos. He has a record of 23 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws. 21 of those 23 wins coming by way of knockout, whereas Andrew Tabiti has a perfect record of 17-0, 13 of those 17 wins coming by way of knockout. So Yunier Dorticos, as we can see by the records, he's more experienced, he's had more fights, and to be quite honest, he's fought a higher level of competition. Dorticos has fought guys like Yuri Kalenga, Dmitry Kudryashov, Murat Gassiev, and Matthias Masternak. So Dorticos is the more seasoned, more experienced pro, and not only that, his record also indicates he's the harder puncher. Now just because a fighter has a higher knockout ratio than his opponent, it doesn't necessarily mean he punches harder than his opponent, but in this case I certainly believe Dorticos is a heavier hitter than Andrew Tabiti. So yeah, going into this one, I do give Yunier Dorticos the edge in punching power. Now in terms of the height and reach of both fighters, Dorticos is listed as 6'3" with an 80-inch reach, whereas Andrew Tabiti is listed as 6'1" with a 76.5-inch reach. So Dorticos is 2 inches taller, and he also has a 3.5-inch reach advantage. And going into this fight, the superior size of Dorticos could give Tabiti some problems. I don't believe Andrew Tabiti has had to deal with somebody as physically imposing as Yunier Dorticos throughout his whole career so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how Tabiti deals with that. But stylistically, I do believe this fight will gel quite well. Andrew Tabiti, he fights out of that Mayweather gym, and he fights in that type of style. He'll fight out of that shoulder roll. He'll want you to come onto him, and he'll then want to find his openings and find those counter shots. He's a counter puncher. And, you know, against a come-forward fighter like Yunier Dorticos, I'm sure he will find his openings and have success with his counter-punching. He's quite a sharpshooter, and he carries respectable punching power, as we saw in his fight with Latif Coyote. You know, Tabiti got a stoppage in that fight, and even his last fight against Ruslan Pfeiffer. Ruslan Pfeiffer was kind of an awkward come-forwards fighter, but although that fight was quite terrible, I felt Tabiti's punching power and accuracy gave Pfeiffer something to think about, and it kind of discouraged him. So I'm sure his counter-punching style will have success in this fight, because ultimately, like I said, Dorticos, he's a come-forward fighter, he does get hit, he is defensively open, and he will give Tabiti those opportunities to counter, especially if the fight goes late, because Yunier Dorticos is a bit of a fast starter. He'll start very quick out of the blocks, he'll be throwing big hard shots, but after the 4th or 5th round, he really does start to tire. We saw that in the fight with Murat Gassiev, we saw that in the fight with Matthias Masternak. He's a very quick starter, but he is guilty of gassing down the stretch. And if Tabiti can get through the first few rounds, in the last 6 rounds, maybe he will have a field day with counterpunch opportunities. Like I said, we saw that with Gassiev. Dorticos actually started quite well in that fight. He won some of the early rounds, but in the second half of that fight, Gassiev really took over and he started to beat up Yunier Dorticos. Maybe Tabiti could do something similar if he's still around in the late rounds. I certainly believe Tabiti has a good chance in this fight, but as does Yunier Dorticos. Like I said, Yunier Dorticos is a much more experienced and proven fighter in the cruiserweight division. He's seen a lot more in the ring, and maybe he may have a bit too much for Tabiti at this stage. Right now, Tabiti, he's not really had a hard fight. He had an awkward fight with Ruslan Pfeiffer, but he's never really had a physically taxing fight. Dorticos has been through those type of fights. He knows what they are about, and he knows what to expect in the event of such fight. So the experience of Dorticos could be a factor here, and even stylistically I can see where Dorticos has success. In the Pfeiffer fight, at times I felt Tabiti looked a little bit concerned with the fact Pfeiffer wasn't going anywhere and he was still marching forwards. His output at times wasn't the best, and he wasn't taking the initiative as much as I would have liked to have seen. You know, Pfeiffer's not really a great pressure fighter. Dorticos brings real physicality, punching power and aggression. If he's disconcerted with a guy like Pfeiffer, how's he going to deal with a guy like Dorticos? You know, there were a few alarm bells in that Pfeiffer fight, in my opinion, just how Tabiti was reacting to certain situations, and that doesn't really fill me with confidence going into this fight. Also, can Tabiti stay away from Dorticos for prolonged periods of this fight? I mean, Tabiti, he can move a bit, but he's kind of flat-footed. He'll fight in that Philly shell, but he's like Broner. He's very flat-footed. He'll bend at the waist, he'll twist and turn, but I don't really think he's got that shoulder roll down to a T. He gets caught in that shoulder roll with overhand rights and left hooks, and Dorticos delivers both of those shots very well. So if Tabiti's staying in the pocket against Dorticos in that shoulder roll position, don't be surprised to see this guy get hurt by a big left hook or an overhand right over the top of the shoulder roll. And Dorticos is a lot taller than Tabiti, so that overhand right over the top could be a key punch for him going into this fight if Tabiti is fighting in that shoulder roll. If you're a taller guy and somebody's pulling that Philly shell, a right hand over the top, over their shoulder, onto their chin is a really effective punch, so look out for that. I do wonder how good Tabiti's defense is at the elite level. We've seen him get caught on the way up. I know that's natural. I know guys get hit in fights, but, you know, Tabiti's been getting touched up at a low level. And we've seen in recent years, a lot of these guys who try and pull off that shoulder roll get it drastically wrong. I mean, we can go back to guys like Andre Berto, for example, against Robert Guerrero. You know, I wonder if Dorticos' overwhelming pressure will get to Tabiti. Ultimately, if Dorticos really forces this fight and Tabiti fights out of his usual stance, don't be surprised if Tabiti gets walked through and knocked out. If I'm Tabiti, for the first 5 or 6 rounds, I'm going to be stick and moving. I'm going to be using that jab, making Dorticos chase the fight. I would be trying to keep it close on the scorecards, and I would be trying to gas Dorticos out. Dorticos, like I said, his gas tank isn't the best, and in the second half of the fight, that's when I would start to set my feet, counter, work the body, and look for harder shots to really take the lead and take the initiative. That's what I would do if I was Tabiti. But we will see. I can see this fight going either way, but if I were to bet, I think I would put my money on Yunier Dorticos. I just think this fight may have came a couple of fights too early for Andrew Tabiti, and I believe Dorticos' pressure and power will see him through. I believe he will get a knockout win in rounds 4 to 6. I just think he will have a bit too much, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, I am going with the KO Doctor Yunier Dorticos by knockout. But like I said, it's a great fight. I do believe it's competitive, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go either way. If it goes long, I would then give Tabiti much more of a chance, but as my official prediction, we are going with a Yunier Dorticos knockout. Share your thoughts below. Tell me how you guys feel this fight will play out. Drop your predictions below. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this fight. I'm really looking forward to it, And as we know, on the same card, we also have Krzysztof Glowacki versus Maris Briedis. I've already made my prediction for that fight. It is on my channel if you want to check that out. Share your thoughts below. Peace.